an artist thinks. An artist x-rays. When I see you guys, this is how I see. No, not exactly, but this is how I see academically. This is how I would analyze you as an artist. I would see your bone structure, your muscle structure, and then your drapery. But this is only the academic. This is only, it's like the vocabulary. It's like English. English is not about the structure of sentences and so on. No, that just helps you communicate. Great literature is where there's a great understanding of the language, and that's motivated by great spirituality and great humanity. Like, for instance, Shakespeare. His sentences would not be approved of by your English speaker or your English teacher, because he reconstructs the language. Or Joyce, for instance, he totally reconstructs the language. But the essential thing is that what they do is they take a structure, they understand it so well, so that they can abstract from it and communicate much profounder realities about who we are. Because by being very deep thinkers, they use the language and they express something much greater. Alright? And artists do the same thing. Really effective artists understand the language very well, and then if they really understand what it means to be a human being very well, then that's a great combination, because you have essentially the full ingredients of a great artist is a person who has great penetration of what it means to be a human being and the language to communicate it. And when I heard the words of Pope John Paul II, Christ reveals man to man, I realized, wow, that's exactly my vocation as an artist. My vocation as an artist is to communicate man to man, what it means to be a human being, to other human beings. And that's why I've studied the body, because actually theology of the body was another of his major achievements. I thoroughly recommend you to steep yourself in theology of the body. As George Weigel says in his biography of soon to be Beato, John Paul II, he said that the theology of the body is like the foundation of the new evangelization. And really, if you want to understand what it means to be a human being today and to deal with all the issues, that's a great tool. Essentially, 99.9% of the people who leave the church don't want to practice. It's really generally because of sexual ethics and their view on the church's stance on sexual ethics. But what theology of the body does is it explains those sexual ethics in a beautiful, positive way, which is basically an ample explanation of humana vitae. And by doing that, what he does is he reveals the fullness of the human condition. Humana vitae means on human life, not don't use a condom. So it's very important. Obviously, using a condom goes against it, but the whole thing is about what it means to be a human being. And contraception goes against that. It destroys the meaning of human sexuality. We can go into that later. But thirdly, well worth going into. This same idea, X-ray and form. This is in 3 dimensions. This is a resurrected Christ. Actually, this is important. I study Christ in this way as a way of penetrating what the incarnation means. Essentially, the reason I do this is to contemplate Corpus Christi, the body of Christ. Now, for me, the way I do that is through my primary language, which is form. So I contemplate the body of Christ through form, his bone structure, his muscle structure, the carnality of Christ. And by doing that, I deepen my faith. And that gives me the equipment to communicate that faith to others. This is an example of a crucifixion I did in New York. And essentially what I've done here is this is not a devotional piece, obviously. It's an academic study. And it's a personal contemplation of Corpus Christi. Okay? So this is the first time that my faith and my work really came together. Here is an icon of the theology of the body, where I've decided to create an image which expresses the truth and meaning of human sexuality, essentially. So I have a male and female form here. They're done in, this is not a finished work, this is an academic study for a finished piece. So what you have here is you have the muscle structure, and then you have fatty pads, obviously breasts and so on, and they're form influencing shapes. And what I'm doing with this piece is, basically the concept here is that we have a spiral, a double helix, with a symbol of life, and at the top we have a child, okay? And that's a symbol of the maximum of hope and faith and the future and beauty. And as we go down through the composition, the flesh becomes less young and more old, and goes into decay at the bottom here. Okay, so you have decaying at the bottom, coming into life at the top, and it's all about the truth and meaning of human sexuality, as sexuality being a fundamental aspect of our condition. It's really important to understand who we are sexually, because that helps us understand the meaning of our role in life and how we relate to others. But on top of that, it's where love is communicated. It is the icon of love, and that is essentially self-donation, gift of self. And in this piece, what I wanted to do is express, if sexuality is used positively, it goes to life and love, that's upwards. And if it's used negatively, it goes towards violence and death. Okay? And I think we can see that in our culture. The culture of death is essentially the bottom part of this composition. And what I want to do with this, I would love to be commissioned to do this, because obviously I can't do it unless I'm commissioned, because it costs money to make it, and time costs money to make it. But essentially, that's what I want to do with this. I want to create an icon of the culture of life. And I think a work like this can communicate in a very effective way. In one statement, in one image, you can get across a whole cultural crisis. So that's the concept behind it. Here are just some live drawings to give you an idea of how you use that information and put it into drawing. This is a composition for an altarpiece which I'm finishing.